Welcome to the Business of Beauty, where we help beauty entrepreneurs in building their business and reaching their dreams. This is your host, David Lee. Our guest today helps beauty entrepreneurs save money by reducing their taxes with effective tax planning. The one thing she is most proud of is that in her first year of business, she saved her clients nearly a total of $100,000 with effective tax planning and compliance services. Her superpower is taking super complex tax laws and accounting rules and communicating them in a much simpler and understandable terms to small business owners. Being able to communicate to small business owners, especially in the situation that we're all in right now, right? It's important to understand it, and it eases their mind and puts them at peace when it comes to them feeling empowered and confident that they can be compliant with tax and accounting rules. Welcome to the show, Kenesha Coleman at Coleman Tax.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show. I'm super excited. I have a ton of tax questions for you, and I'm sure our viewers feel the same way, especially, being, in this situation, with a lot of businesses being in lockdown, and it seems like the beauty industry has been hit one of the hardest. I feel like they're like the last industry. I mean, certain beauty businesses are like last to open up because they're considered non-essential, right? In a lot of the states. So, but before we jump right into all that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What particular beauty industries, businesses that you helped out, and we can go from there.
For sure. Again, like as David said, I'm Kenesha Coleman, and I like to consider myself the beauty CPA. So that's what I'm known as. I own a firm called Coleman Tax, and we help beauty entrepreneurs save money by reducing their tax liability through effective tax planning. And so my number one goal, my mission is to get beauty entrepreneurs to a point where they're paying the least amount of tax legally possible. I've had my firm for a number of years. However, I took on the beauty niche, however you like to say it. I took that on maybe 3 years ago because I thought to myself, I wanted to kind of really focus and go all in one area, right? And so when I was thinking to myself, okay, what do I want to, specialize in? I was thinking to myself, well, what do I organically enjoy? Like in my own personal life, right?
Yeah.
What do I spend a ton of time or a ton of money on? And for me, that's beauty.
Yeah.
Beauty. That's hair, skin, nails,
Nice.
all of that. So I said, you know what? I'm solely dedicating myself to those professionals and those who are like my tax and accounting help. As far as my experience with beauty entrepreneurs so far, I have hair salon owners, I have full service spa owners, barbershop owners. I also have some product based clients. So
Nice.
beauty entrepreneurs who formulate their own skincare or cosmetic products, as well as hair products and soaps of that much. So I'm kind of across the board. If you fall under that umbrella of making folks beautiful and maintaining their hygiene, I can be of service to you.
Nice. So I guess a first question from your experience working with a wide range of businesses, and also now starting to are specializing in the beauty space. So starting 3 years ago, what are some of the things that are different for working with beauty versus like a dental practice or a restaurant, right? Anything that kind of differentiates for a beauty business from a tax perspective?
Well, from a tax perspective, I'll say this. I'll say in general, right, there are only a few industries where there are specific tax laws just for that industry. There are only a very, very few. I would say real estate is a big one. insurance is a big one, banking is a big one. But when it comes to beauty entrepreneurs specifically, I think that all of the general tax breaks apply to them. Is just a frame of mind that you have to put the beauty entrepreneur into to realize it applies to them. For example, right? For example, when I think of the beauty entrepreneur, I remember one case where I had a client who owned the spa, the building that her spa was in. She just outright owned it. And
very cool.
She had made several improvements within the interior, obviously to make the spa a very luxurious place. Where the average beauty entrepreneur isn't thinking about the tax implications of the building itself. She's just concerned with the day in and day out of her spa. And I said, no, let's think of this in terms of like you owning a piece of real estate, and let's think about the real estate tax benefits of you being, you owning this building. So we were able to save her a lot of money by taking that building and breaking it down into smaller components and being able to depreciate those smaller components faster than the building. And she saved a lot of money from that. But I just had to get her into the frame of mind that, okay, you're not a real estate professional, but you own real estate. So those things apply for you.
Okay. Yeah. So she essentially is owning pretty much, she has two different types of businesses almost in this case, right? She's like a landlord or real estate, person. And then, of course her spa, right? So two separate pieces. Got it. Okay. Very cool.
So
very cool.
Think of it in like terms of, not only what you do, but, the assets you own as well.
I know that some businesses, they even go as far as separating the entities. They have a separate LLC, right? Just for all the real estate property. And then they have their LLC or their business for their spa or their beauty business.
Yep, correct. Look at you. You know something about that.
Just a little bit. Enough to be dangerous, right? So, okay, very cool. Now, so with the whole situation going on now with lockdown, so one of the probably the most burning questions, and I'm just kind of hearing and seeing some of the beauty professionals are like, let us start working, right? We gotta work. And first it was the difficulty of getting like the special loan. So the PPP, which is the what does it stand for? Payment Protection Program?
Paycheck Protection Program.
Yes, Paycheck Protection Program. And then there's the EIDL, right?
EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan.
Yes. And at first it was confusing, right? And it's still kind of confusing. And also it was very difficult to get. It just like ran out of money really quick. And then there was a second round, right? So I guess, can you touch on those, pieces, these options? And also, is it still applicable for some of the salons, some of the, beauty businesses where like, okay, well, the state's not allowing me to open up. So if I get a loan, what? Who am I going to pay? And I have to hire everyone back, right? And then there's another challenge too about getting people hired back in too. So so can we touch a little bit on all those pieces surrounding the loans?
This is my disclaimer, right?
Yeah.
As we were talking about before, my disclaimer with PPP and we're gonna call EIDL. Both of these loan programs were they put together very fast, right? They were pushed through Congress and approved very, very fast. So fast that even when they were, signed into law, the banks, once it hit the banks were confused. Like even they were not ready for this millions of people, small business owners, knocking at the door to fill out the application, get everything they needed and get approved, and then hammer out the rules, right? I think they gave the money quicker than actually explaining, okay, if these are the rules you have to adhere to for these loans. And so as far as I know that there is PPP money left, I do know that. There is PPP money left. I think EIDL, Congress is putting together another stimulus package to refund that. But this is what I'll say. I really like it. The PPP was my favorite. This is why. When you apply for the PPP, you got 2.5 times your average payroll cost. And that was supposed to give you enough funds to pay your employees for at least 8 weeks. If you spent your loan, if 75% of that loan was spent on retaining your employees, that loan was forgivable. Now, when something says forgivable, meaning you do not have to pay back, that becomes my favorite thing because it's free.
It's like free money.
Free money at that point, right? So if, let's say you open up, right? And what I was seeing happening in the world was, okay, salon owners were saying, okay, well, my employee is saying that they're not coming back because they actually get more money not working. Than coming back. Right?
The unemployment, right? The state, and then another, was it $600 from federal? Like, wow. Like, can I fire myself?
So without getting into, opinions, I'll say this salon owner, if you're in that situation where you're like, okay, this employee has left, now I may have to pay this back because I'm not spending on the employee. This is what you do. You go find you another employee, or maybe you find a way to give a little bump to your existing employees. That way you have still spent the money. That way you still spent the money on payroll. And in addition, there's something new just came out, maybe just last week. If you document that you tried to get your former employee back with a written offer, and they have formally declined, and you document that, the SBA will not make you pay that money back. They'll still consider it forgiven because you at least attempted to keep
okay. So this is this is my first time hearing it. This is something pretty new.
That's new. That's new. That's breaking news.
Breaking news, hot off the press.
So with these loans, documentation is everything, right? You get these loans, you put it in a separate bank account, or just really keep track of how much you got and what you're spending it on. And like I said, if most of it is spent on employees, new or old, it'll be forgiven. Now, besides the PPP, if you didn't get PPP and you got EIDL, that loan is still a good loan. It's still a very favorable loan when you think about the terms. But none of it is forgivable, and you can get much more than 2.5 times your average payroll. You can get a lot more than that, and you may need it because you're going to open back up and you're going to start making money again, but you still need time to get back those months you lost. And so it's not forgivable. It's still a very good option.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Like, so could a business, hypothetically, let's say I'm a salon, and I'm in, like California or Michigan, still locked down. But so the non-essential piece, that just means that I can't open up and start seeing clients face to face. But if I do anything like online orders, if I start shipping products out, if I do internal work, let's say I'm working on the business, like let's say, it's a good time to kind of organize and build processes and improve our business model, right? Or maybe do some online training, right? And so so I could technically say, all right, well, I'm gonna hire all my team back, right? And put them through training, preparation, improve my business processes, right? Or maybe improve my business model to be online, right? Or more sell more products, right? Heck, do a online, I don't know, how to cut your hair online course. Who knows, right? That's allowed, right?
Yeah, that's allowed. That's allowed. I have a client who she has a brick and mortar, and
Yeah.
she has employees, but she's done two things. One of them is what you just said. So right, so there's a ton of virtual training going on. One of the more important ones she's putting her staff through is the sanitation, the COVID related sanitation classes.
Yeah.
They're being offered virtually so that when they do get back into their location, they know how to handle this heightened level of sanitation that is required. Another thing she has done, besides all the virtual activities, kind of the ones you just spelled out there, they have been going back into their location to get ready for when they can open. So they have been doing deep cleanings. They have been restructuring the layout of the spa so that the chairs are 6 feet apart.
Yeah, some social distancing measures.
Yeah, they're putting together all these social distancing measures. They're replacing certain things that you would normally touch. They're trying to see how they can make it that it works so without touching it, or maybe putting like a plastic layer over that you can easily replace through the day. So they're doing things like that to keep themselves busy and on payroll working.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and from understanding, like, there's for a business, if they were really busy before, now it's actually a really good time to kind of work on the business, right? And let's just say business, we still have to wait, let's say another 2-3 weeks. That should be enough time to kind of get everything ramped up and ready to go when the business reopens again.
Absolutely.
Right? And plus, so that means, if a business owner is on the fence, like a salon owner is on the fence of like, should I apply for PPE? Isn't that a no-brainer now? It's like,
go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it. Even if you get it and you say, you know what, I don't even need this. Just give it back.
Yeah.
You just give it back.
Yeah. And from understanding, let's just say like you don't qualify to have the full percentage forgiven. Isn't the interest rate something crazy low, like 1% or something?
Like 1%. It's like 1%, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
As far as loan terms, right? So,
yeah. It's like I've never seen a 1% loan before. I mean, it's practically, call it free almost. I mean, sure, you still have to pay it back for anything you don't, but for the most part though, I mean, if you plan it and get it just right, you can get it mostly forgiven, right?
Yes, it definitely will be forgiven. And then it's not an all or nothing, right? So like, let's say you don't spend 75% on payroll. Let's say you spend 60%. You will still get a portion of those non-payroll costs forgiven, right? So it's not, all or nothing. It'll just slowly phase out the lower your portion of payroll costs make up your loan amount. It's a good deal. It's such a good deal. And I think that for financial security, I would advise all my clients, take the money, take the full amount you can get, because you just never know how long it's going to take for us to get back to where we were pre-pandemic. And so, and if you don't end up using it or need it, you just give it back.
Very true. So during this time, are there any other things that a beauty, business can do other than applying for PPP? Is there anything, and kind of preparing their business? Anything else you would say they should look at from a tax perspective, accounting perspective?
I think that there are some, as far as loans, these are going to be the best 2 loans you can get, right? But besides like the loan part of this all, if we want to talk about things tax or accounting related you could be working on in your business, since we're kind of in that mind frame, we're at home thinking, okay, what could I be doing? I would say, number 1, get your books in order for these loans, especially for these loans. Because when it comes to, number 1, I don't think a lot of people knew this, but if you get one of these loans, you can be audited by the SBA because they want to come in and they want to make sure nothing fishy is going on and no one's taking advantage of like this quick money.
Yeah.
And the way you can be ready for one of those audits, it all boils down to documentation, right?
Yeah.
So when you get that loan, you make sure you keep it in a separate bank account, business bank account, and you account for every penny of where that loan went.
Okay.
So that if you are audited or questioned it, you have all of your ducks are in a row, no questions asked.
Yeah.
That helps for an audit, for a SBA audit, and then it also helps for obviously your forgiveness application, which will be coming out in about 6 weeks.
Nice.
In addition to that, I think that I'm gonna have the opinion that most of my clients haven't done their taxes yet. Like, okay, so the tax deadline was pushed back. They were due in April, right?
Yep.
But it was pushed back to July.
Yeah.
Now it's May. And so in your mind, you're like, oh, I have time. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you open, you're going to be so busy. Oh my God. You're going to be so busy. It's going to be so easy to forget about taxes. So if you have, if you're homebound, just get the taxes done. Get them out the way so that you don't forget. And if you're not ready, at least do your extension. I mean, the deadline was pushed back to July 15th, but you still can get an extension till October the 15th. Yep. You go to October. So at a minimum, either do the taxes or extend so that you have that extra time.
Yeah.
I would say that. And then don't forget about quarterly estimated taxes. So Q1 and Q2, those due dates were pushed back as well to July 15th. So you got 3 things due on July 15th. A tax return in 2 quarters of quarterly taxes. I would say get those in order too. And for those owners who have employees, you still got, payroll tax filings. Now, although you haven't maybe been paying them, you still got to file a return, even if it has zeros all over.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
very true. Very true.
I would keep all of that tax administration work in mind.
Yeah. Is there, let's see, now, are they pushing out any additional plans or any adjustments to any of the loans in Congress and the government?
It's one of those, like, stay tuned. It's one of those, like, I monitor the news daily.
Yeah.
I monitor tax news daily.
Yeah.
I get alerts on my phone. So it's like literally to be determined. I know that they're trying to push another stimulus through, and this is like hearsay. On the they're trying to do it from a personal perspective and for small business owners. So that's developing still. So I think they're gonna just keep renewing these packages until we can get back to, I won't say a normal level, but at least to everyone's open and back working.
Okay. Yeah, and I heard like certain states too, like I think New York, Cuomo, the governor was just saying like they're trying to push out a new program just for like the small businesses, like the micro businesses. So your state might have their own special program to help support your business.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Because like I'm in Illinois. I'm right outside of Chicago. So Illinois isn't open yet, and I don't think they are opening till like around June 1st. But still, it's not like a full-blown open, right? There are going to be restrictions as to how many people can be in these businesses. So if you're not operating at full capacity, you're still going to need financial assistance. Yeah.
And the scary part is like the numbers of cases and the death numbers are increasing, especially through, because of this Memorial Day weekend, right? Yes. So it's not going to convince any politician or any decision maker, oh yeah, let's just open up. And so it's getting even tougher.
It is. I think this will be the new normal for a while. Which is unfortunate, but I think it forces us, I'm including myself in the beauty industry as a service provider, I think it increases us, one, to become more resilient, two, more creative and innovative than we've ever been before, to still, to use all of our resources. The biggest one being technology, and to servicing our clients, providing very good information that people still can use even at home to take care of themselves. I've seen some great skincare live videos, great hair care live videos. It's possible, not like we've known it before, but it's possible to evolve in that way. And I think this situation is forcing us to do that.
Yeah. Now, from your experience working with different, beauty entrepreneurs, what are some of the unique things, interesting things that the beauty businesses has done during this time? As you mentioned, like, they've started training their staff. They, started building online programs. Anything interesting on your end?
I think that it's been a lot of what we've already mentioned before. What I do like, I've seen advertised like on social media, like the house calls,
yes,
through your home.
Yep.
That's a whole new level of luxury that I can get used to.
Yes.
So that's nice. Even like the mobile spa that only would fit one or two clients coming to you to do all of these services. I think that is very innovative. And actually, how when something happens, you're thinking like, why hasn't this ever been here before?
Yeah. It's kind of like when Amazon started getting more popular, like many years back, and people like didn't really buy that many things online. But then all of a sudden you got like this one-click buy, and it's in your, at your doorstep, sometimes a day later, or sometimes I've had it where it came in like the same day, like ordered in the morning and it came in later in the day. I mean, not right now, but it's just like, whoa, this is so cool. And then you just kind of get used to that being the norm.
Yes, I agree. And I do appreciate like the virtual consultation. The virtual consultation. So that, like, for example, if I follow an esthetician in California because she specifically specializes in my type of skin, right? I don't have to now live in California to see her. She consults with me online, gives me full-on recommendations. I buy what I need from her. She ships it to me, and we're done. So I don't know why that didn't exist before this.
Yeah, it's just like all of a sudden, like all these great ideas are coming, about because of this too. So, and the way I look at it is like in every like challenging situation or economic downturn, there's always new ideas and new opportunities. Sure, jobs are lost, businesses are going bankrupt, but then there's also new businesses being formed. Now, I just read on the news, I just heard that a lot of businesses, especially malls, like apparently there was a stat like 25% of the businesses are able to pay or actually paid their rent at their mall. And then there's like strip malls, and then there's other types of malls, but your traditional mall, only a quarter. So now, if let's look at it from this perspective. You're a beauty business and you're struggling to pay rent because you're not bringing anything in. Is there anything you can do to postpone and delay that rent payment?
I think that comes down to, and this can be a good or bad thing. I've seen it both ways during this time, but that comes down to the relationship that you have with your landlord. I've seen landlords be as forgiving and saying, I understand what's happening, don't worry about it. I've seen that situation. I've seen a situation where a client has negotiated, okay, can I have a reduced rent? And then I will true up what I owe you once we open back.
Okay.
I've seen that situation. And then I've seen a situation where, the landlord was like, hey, I understand what we're in, but you got to pay me because I have to pay someone too.
Yeah.
Well, that's where your EIDL comes in and where your PPP comes in. Hopefully you use those funds. But I would negotiate. The ones that I've seen happen and be more successful is the reduced rate, right? So let's say you say I'll pay you 50% of your regular rent rate, and then I will pay you the difference once we open up and start making money. I will give you, I will true that up on my future payments for the
Yeah, so you're like paying 50% now, but then once you build up, you're paying 150% to cover that 50%, right?
Yeah. Because they figure like, okay, I'm gonna get the money in the long run, and we know what's happening here. But that way, there's a compromise, right? The landlord is getting something, right?
Yeah.
But then the tenant is getting a break somehow.
Yeah.
But then I would challenge that business owner at the same time, right? So for example, this isn't my client, but I know of this client. We've been kind of talking and hope for them to transition over to me. But they're, a nail salon. And it's like in a strip, not like a mall, but like a strip plaza. And so they're closed. Well, okay, how can you provide those nail services without being in that building? Okay, you can make house calls. You could, and it may be too late for this, but you could build out a van and do a mobile.
Yep.
Or you could, and I've seen this, I saw this on Instagram. You could, not to get too technical, but you could like decorate custom nails and send them to your client to put them themselves. Or I've seen people, this one company, they put together self-care nail packages. And they could buy it from them, and they mail, this is how you can take care of your own nails while you're home, and this is everything you need to do it. Yeah. So let's think of it in those terms, like, because even without a pandemic, anything could happen to a brick and mortar place.
Oh yeah, right. Diversify.
A natural disaster, a fire, a robbery, anything.
Yeah.
So how can we still provide a service or a digital product or a product via e-commerce to still get, to still build revenue?
Yeah. And you wouldn't believe how many times I've heard a business owner, when I ask them, hey, do you have a website? They're like, oh, I don't need a website. Or their website's super dated, okay? And they're like, oh, my website doesn't really do anything for me. Really? Now, there's like a complete like smack in the face wake-up call, right? Like, oh crap. My website's the only thing that's that's out there. Right? I mean, sure, you can say social media, you can see other pieces, but really all your primary core business, and especially if you want to sell e-commerce, you need your website, right?
I agree. And I like to add to that, collecting your client email addresses, right? So like, for example, when everything does open up, you kind of want those email addresses to be able to directly contact them. Hey, we're open. Here's our reduced hours. We have these certain restrictions, so make sure you get here early to get in because we can only take so many people at a time. Here is, 10% off for coming back to us and sticking with us to this. But most of them don't collect emails, so it's kind of like, well, hope they remember.
Yeah, and if let's say they only have phone numbers, I don't know how big your database is, but let's say it's hundreds or thousands of clients. Are you gonna pick up the phone and call every single client? That's a lot of work, right? So and thank you for sharing that piece. These are some amazing ideas of, you don't have to be sitting around and just be worried. Take action and start applying and making adjustments to your business. So one of the things we talk about is just, like preparing, for any situation, not just the economic downturn, right? How much would you recommend a business have in savings now, considering with the COVID situation, from an operation cost of like, or what they call like a burn rate, right? Or a runway, right? How long should they have? Let's just say there's another lockdown, which could happen, very well could happen, right? In the fall, the COVID could come back, and the businesses, the government can say, all right, another shutdown. Oh my God, that would suck a lot, right? So how many months would you recommend to have in savings?
6 months of reserve, 6 months of cash reserve. And I think, I mean, that's the same runway I give individual clients, right?
Yeah.
If you were to want to leave your job or you got laid off or something, you need a 6-month runway to make that transition. I suggest the same thing for businesses, small business owners. They need 6 months of a cash reserve. So every time, you do their quarterly financials or monthly or however often they do them, just like you would set aside money for taxes. I hope everybody is setting aside money for taxes. You will save aside money to save. Yeah. I mean, this concept is like dated, right? Like we've been saving or been told to save for ourselves for as long as I could remember. No different for small businesses, and that kind of, I don't know if I was just naive, but that kind of shocked me when all this happened and you saw businesses, and this is just not just beauty entrepreneurs, but you had all types of businesses saying they were going to close in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's like, what the heck? That means you had nothing. You were literally living paycheck to paycheck on a business scale, right?
Yeah.
But the sad thing is, I think culturally and also like, our spending habits, were kind of built and in that way, not so much like the Dave Ramsey, like save as much as you can, right? So what would be a good transition? Now, I just want to kind of specify, all right, what that 6 months mean first. Like that means what? Payroll, right?
That means if you were to look at your profit and loss statement, right? And you have revenue there, and then you have all of these expenses, then you have your profit. And obviously for the average business owner, it can work one or two ways, right? You could be a sole proprietor and just pay yourself whatever's left over. Or you could be like an employee owner where your pay is baked into that payroll cost. That's within your expenses, right? I would say have 6 months of your expenses, right? So like, for example, for the sole proprietor, even if you built up 6 months of all of your expenses, you would at a minimum break even. Your business will not just vanish, right? But then you look at it from an individual perspective. Okay, well, how much money do I need to live for 6 months? And add that on top. Add that on top. Now, for the employee owner, it's a little easier because, like I said, your salary is baked into that payroll cost that's included in expenses on the P&L. So just make sure you have 6 months of those expenses. So at a minimum, you would break even if something were to go down, right? And that's like the best case scenario, because if you think about it, if you look at all your expenses, some of those expenses you won't have if you're not operating, right? The
variable costs, like the materials, the stuff that you use. Yes.
So that's what I'm saying is the best case scenario. You probably would survive off of lower than that because you won't have the variable cost. But that's the best case scenario, and that's what I would recommend, because I mean, you don't know when something's gonna hit, and you don't know when it's gonna last. Now,
Okay, appreciate this. So one of the key note takeaways I heard was really don't forget about your own pay, right? Don't forget, because like, sure, you cover your team's pay, you cover like maybe let's say the rent, you cover everything else, but then you're like, wait a minute, I don't have enough to actually last 6 months to actually pay myself. What am I going to eat? Like ramen noodles, right? So, I'm sure you might have a mortgage payment, you have a car payment, so don't forget to include yourself into this.
Which I'll say goes back to records. Like I know a lot of business owners, like the administrative like burden of keeping records and keeping up with your accounting is very, very important, because when you're doing this saving and this projecting, you need to be working with good numbers that actually mean something, and not just kind of pulling numbers out of a hat, and then you're like, okay, well, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We can be very self about this if you keep good, accurate records, and you know financially where you are and what you need if something goes down like this again.
Yeah, I love that. And if the situation that we're in isn't enough to convince you to have 6 months of savings, think about the position you would be in if you had 6 months compared to your competitors that are suffering and are closing down. And especially the more money you have saved up, that means like, I mean, you look back at, you know, like 2008, okay? And then around 2010, all of a sudden, like real estate prices were super cheap, right? Things are going down. Now you're like, you're paying a fraction of what you would have paid in the highest point. And now everyone else is like either out of business or they're struggling to keep up, but yet you have savings. Now you're like, sure, I'll buy that building, right? Or I'll buy that whole business, right? And I'll take all those accounts, and now it'll be so much easier for you to expand versus someone that's been trying to crawl out of a hole during this economic downturn, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. Everything is cheaper right now because like the world is stopped. So things are very cheap right now. So
look at the gas prices.
Gas prices, ag costs, mortgage rates, they're down. Everything's down. So you're right. It'd be very easy to come out of this like a phoenix. But
I like that. I'm gonna have to steal that. I come out here like a phoenix. I love that.
Yeah. And you know, and I don't mean to say this like, you know, unempathetically, but I feel like I hope people use this situation as motivation to restructure their revenue streams, see how they can be less dependent on brick and mortar and use technology more, and also see how we can start building that cash reserve up.
And you know, like we, you know, during this particular episode, we have so many ideas. We went from, you know, like expanding online to at home care, delivery, you know, products to their house, kits, right? There's so many options out there. There's no reason for you to stay with your old traditional model. You have to evolve and change with the times. You know, this is why Blockbuster is not around, right? This is why you don't have Kodak, you know, film cameras, you know, being sold that much. You know, there's digital cameras now. So we have to keep up with the times. And now is one of those things where, you know, it's changing.
Yes. Yeah.
So now, thank you so much. We've already spent a lot of time on this. You know, with you, I could talk to you all day long, you know, for hours and hours about this stuff. And I'm sure our audience would love to hear more. So so for our viewers and our audience, if they have questions, they need some help, how can they reach you?
Oh, for sure. I do have a website.
Nice. Very good.
Website. I am at ColemanTaxLLC.com. So that's ColemanTaxLLC.com. I am on Instagram. I'm at ColemanTax_the Beauty CPA.
Nice.
Facebook, I'm at ColemanTax. So yeah, you can find me on those three mediums there. I have lots of information and free guides to get you through what we're currently experiencing, and also making sure you don't forget to file that tax return in July. So please message me or hit me up anytime.
Yep. Yeah, especially if you get stuck with that tax return, you know who to call now, right?
Yes, you know who to call.
Right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time. Bye.